Thank you for joining me. The meaning of Passover. I attended a Seder last night with a cross-section of people who were pretty intellectual type people. And we had some great and vigorous conversations about faith and politics and culture. And one of my takeaways is that when it comes to the Seder and when it comes to the meaning of Passover, everyone comes at it as an individual. Everyone, in a way, has an individual understanding of what they emphasize and what they think is important. And that's, in a way, very typical of the Jewish experience. And so I only can speak for myself here when I talk about what Passover means to me. And I suppose that very fact in and of itself, you could say, is the meaning of Passover, which is that we became individuals. We became free. To me, the whole essence of the holiday is that the process of the Jewish people, the children of Israel, not only breaking away from slavery, which is, of course, the ultimate form of socialism. It's the individual is owned by other people as if they're property. It's like owning a pair of hubcaps or a piece of furniture. Instead, in this case, you own a human being. And by freeing themselves from that situation, it started the world on the course of developing the rights of the individual to be free, the sovereign individual created by God. God created men and women in his image. We have a right to basic freedom. Every individual in the world does. Every individual life is significant. And by breaking away from the slavery of the Pharaoh, who represents the authoritarian state, the idol-worshipping backed state, the children of Israel set the stage for all of mankind to realize their own potential and to be free. This is why I would suggest the Jewish people, or the children of Israel, are chosen by God, because they're the ones who went through this struggle. They were on the vanguard. They were the forefront of a freedom movement that continues to this day. And that the Seder, the Passover Seder, is an opportunity to remind ourselves of the significance of that charge. And of course, once the Israelites did break free, then the entire story culminates in Shavuot, which is about 5 weeks from now, and that is the climactic experience of the children of Israel then and to this day. The guiding touchstone, which is the revelations at Sinai, when the Lord God, King of the universe, blessed be he, revealed the blueprint for life to Moses, who then revealed it to the entire children of Israel, the entire congregation, and it was witnessed by hundreds of thousands of people at that time at Sinai. But the significance is, some of the particulars include like the 12 plagues, which one of the guests at the Seder I attended brought up a very interesting point. And that was that the 12 plagues were not so much to punish the Egyptians, but they were to show God to the people of Israel, that they're to know God, to believe in God. That's the internal struggle of the children of Israel. It was the struggle then, and it's the struggle now. It was the struggle why, at the very height of our experience as a people, when we became closest to God and to knowing God, we had the golden calf at the foot of the mountain, and we were worshiping idols and engaging in all the licentious behavior that was around man-made worship and idol worship. And it's that eternal struggle that continues. We're in a sense, people criticize Jews for events that occurred in the Torah and the Talmud and etc. But the fact is that we are not God. We're imperfect. All of us are. That we are struggling today, all of us as individuals and as a people, to know God, and that we backslide away from that knowledge. And when we do, and when we go into an atmosphere of sin, and when we engage in sin, then we're punished. And when we succeed in seeing and understanding and knowing God, and that there's a greater purpose to the universe than our short lifespan, and that we're a reflection of God, and that when we try to fulfill the commandments of the Torah, then we bring up a heightened spirituality, and that raises the level of all of mankind. So the entire story is the story of developing the sovereign individual. It was the first time in world history that this happened, and that an entire people stood up and said, we want to be free. We no longer want to be the property of other people. We no longer want to be human resources. We no longer want to be apparatchiks of a man-made state. We are free to be who we are and to reach our potential, to control our own destiny, and to know the Lord God, King of the universe. And thus you have this move toward freedom. And so the way I see the Passover movement is Seder is a reminder of the importance of individual freedom, the reminder of that we are to reject man-made gods as they existed back then, as they exist today, when you have the state replacing God as a subject of veneration and worship. That's what socialism is, public ownership of the mode of production. The state owns everything, and that the state is the redemptive quality. The state becomes the Messiah, the deliverer, the precursor to the Messianic age. We reject that as Jews, and we accept the fact that as imperfect images of God, while every life is important, we recognize the sovereignty of the Lord God in heaven, and we accept his blueprint for how we are to live, which is the Torah of God. And to do so, we had to be free. The reason the children of Israel had to wander in the desert for 40 years, when they really could have gotten to Canaan in probably about 3 weeks, if they really wanted to, is because it took an entire generation of new people to be at the level where they could really understand freedom to the degree that they could achieve the moral and physical elements that would be required to assume sovereignty in the land that God commanded us to assume. And that is that tiny region between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea that actually approximates the present-day borders of the state of Israel. So we had to experience that in a whole generation to reach that level of spiritual awareness of who we are and who our potential is to get there, which shows us how powerful not only idol worship is, but quite frankly, how powerful slavery is, and that people don't understand the nature of their own enslavement because they're blind to it, because they're not woke up. So Passover is a waking up. And I think there's also significance, by the way, in terms of why the Passover Seder is incorporated into 3 of the 4 Gospels of the New Testament, which hold Jesus as hosting a Seder on the evening before his execution, that he was reminding his own followers of the importance of individual freedom and of choice. And he was bringing to the rest of the world through his ministry this message of individual freedom, and this message that would culminate in the laws and the moral and ethical precepts of the Torah, which Jesus, his ministry, brought to all of mankind. So it's a universal idea, and it's one that we need to take heed of every year to remind ourselves of who we are, of what our potential is as human beings and as societies. Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Charles Moscowitz, and thanks for watching. Have a great day.